Hi everyone, it's Matt at Battle Bunker. I don't work here, but I paint a couple of things for Viv every now and then. I thought I'd do a tutorial on some simple stuff, maybe a bit of complicated stuff on this. Painting the High Elf Griffon from the new Island of Blood starter set. Nice looking model, this one. So I thought I'd start off with some simple stuff like some dry brushing. Maybe show you how to wash. People generally know how to do this stuff, but for anyone who doesn't, we'll give you a look. We're going to use bulk gun metal to base coat the armour first. So we just apply bulk gun metal to all the bits we want silver. Less paint is better. You don't want to be clogging up details with too much paint on your brush. We're back. Hopefully the metal's dry now so we can wash it. Got a bit of battered black there. Then we go over the areas again, just to darken them down a bit. Then we're going to start some dry brushing. Basically your dry brush is the opposite of using a wash. It picks up all the little raised edges so you get sort of instant highlighting effect. And for this you want as little paint on the brush as possible. So coat the brush with paint. And then take off as much as possible. And this is the first, I'm going to do two dry brushes with this, one with Mithril Silver and one with chainmail. So this is a little bit, you need a little bit more paint on your brush for this one. So here you gently, you go over the raised areas that you want dry brushed, and you just pick up the highlights. The little raised edges. This technique's great for fur and feathers, armour plates, anything with sort of raised edges, so it'll be good for the wings and the body of the griffin as well. Also, whenever you're working with metallic paints, it's not a bad idea to change your water afterwards, because they leave little bits of the shiny stuff, the little speckles of metal in the paint, in the water, and they can then transfer onto your other paint later. The last layer, this is going to give it like a final dusting of light silver. You want 90% of the paint off the brush when you're doing this. As you can see, all the gold areas have been painted. Okay, the gold's going to be washed with Griffon Sapphire, nice orangey brown colour. Again, we do this just to give it a little bit of shading. While we're waiting for the gold to dry, we'll just give the flesh a quick wash of Ogren flesh. We're going to take the burnished gold. We're going to use a normal brush and we're just going to go around and highlight the gold. To give it some definition. You just go around all the raised edges, basically where the light would fall. Basically you're going over the areas that the last dry brush picked up with a slightly smaller amount of paint. It's also important to get a good grip on the model when you're painting it. So this model's quite awkward. There's the burnished gold layer to pick up the raised edges. It's going to take a bit of mithril silver just to highlight the extreme edges, make it look a bit sparkly.
Paint him better! That's dodgy, man.
It is, it's very dodgy.
It's real dodgy.
Should have said before that we're only painting this to a sort of slightly above tabletop standard because it's going to be used for demo games and such. It's not a display model. Ultramarine blue, just to base coat all the blue areas. Ultramarine blue. There, take a Citadel fine detail or detail brush because the areas are quite small. Wet palette there. Okay, let's.
Tutorial on making the wet palette.
Yes.
Take you like 5 minutes.
If anyone wants a tutorial on the wet palette, leave a comment. They're useful little tools, especially in Australia. When during the summer it can get quite hot. You can see I've painted the areas blue. Yeah, probably can't see that. I hate to have a steady hand to do this bit. Just painting the rims on the chain rails. Better black now. Over all the blue areas. Black wash. And apply. Give his face a little paint. And bring it back to Talon Flesh with a little bit of elf grey in it. Elf Flesh. I always like to water down my foundation paints because they get a bit chunky sometimes. Elf Flesh. Probably 2 to 1 mix. 2 to 1 Talon Flesh to 1 palette elf. To give it a little bit of a lighter colour. This is just to bring it back to skin colour after washing it with the Ogden Flesh yesterday. Let's pick up most of the raised areas. Not much flesh on this model, so difficult. You can see that I've left some recesses where the Ogden Flesh wash would have gone into. China blue and ice blue. So you get a colour that looks like that. Now I'm going to go along the raised edges of the cloaks and everything else that's blue. Just been along the raised areas of the cloak. Nice simple tabletop standard. One is on him, space off grey. Edges. A good easy way if you're painting bone is just snake white leather with bleached bone over the top. When the camera died, I was in the process of painting the actual griffin itself. I've painted the sword scabbard red, if you can see that. I've painted that Macrite red first, followed by red gore. And then I'm going to go over that with some blood red. The griffin, the feathers have just been base coated with some scorched brown. And then a batter black wash put over the top of it. And now we're just going to dry brush it with some bestial brown. So like in my previous tutorial, you get as much of the paint off, basically just dust it over the raised edges. Okay, so there I've just gone over the wings and the feathers with some bestial brown, just dry brushed. So there's the vermin flesh, vermin brown. There's a little bit of difference, it's just a little bit more orange. Snake white leather. This isn't the way the one in the book's painted, but couldn't figure out what brown they'd use, so I'm just doing it the way I want to do it. So now, just using the snake white leather, using a smaller brush because we want to be a little bit more careful now. And just going over, picking up the random bits, the lines. You might be able to see that as I go down with the dry brush, it picks up the raised edges on the wings and the feathers. That's what we want with dry brushing. Okay, I've just painted the claws Iden and Dark Sun. I'm going to go over them with something else in a second, maybe a wash. And I've just got to fix up the vomit brown on the back. There we go. High Elf General on Griffon. We've got the nice new Swordmasters figures. They're fun to paint. The not so well painted Seaguard. Wasn't a big fan of painting them. Not too much detail. Not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, so there we have it. Battle Bunkers, Island of Blood High Elves. Come and play with them anytime. Get one of the guys to give you a demo game if you don't know how to play Warhammer. And beat some Skaven, which are just over there. Evil Skaven. Well, see you next time.
Try to understand not just the words, Matt, but the pretty pictures too.